Hello everyone, Winston here. Not at my best today, having a bit of a sore throat, but thanks be to God, I can speak and the work must go on. Practically every time I speak with a Jehovah's Witness, I think to myself, man, what wouldn't I give to see this person face these questions in court? You see, in a court of law, one is required, on the penalty of perjury, to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. One may elect in special circumstances not to answer a question, but for the most part, you are required to answer. And here's the best part. The answers you give must be relevant to the questions asked. You are not allowed to change the subject. You are not allowed to attack the questioner. Unfortunately, when you are speaking with a Jehovah's Witness, you are not in court. Unfortunately, these rules do not apply. Two prominent Jehovah's Witnesses were required to answer some questions in court in the now famous Walsh trial of 1954. I will enact some of the actual questions asked and answers provided.
In November 1954, the Douglas Walsh trial was held in the Scottish Court of Sessions, in which the Watchtower Society tried to establish, before the British court, that certain of its members were ordained ministers. High-ranking leaders of the society testified, including Vice President Fred France and legal counsel for the society, Hayden C. Covington. Covington's testimony before the attorney for the Ministry of Labour and National Service included the following.
Is it not vital to speak the truth on religious matters?
It certainly is.
Is there, in your view, room in a religion for a change of interpretation of the Holy Writ from time to time?
There is every reason for a change in interpretation, as we view it, of the Bible. Our view becomes more clear, as we see the prophecy fulfilled by time.
You have promulgated, forgive the word, false prophecy?
We have. I do not think we have promulgated false prophecy. There have been statements that were erroneous, that is the way I put it, and mistaken.
Is it a most vital consideration in the present situation of the world to know if the prophecy can be interpreted in terms of fact when Christ's second coming was?
That is true, and we have always striven to see that we have the truth before we utter it. We go on the very best information we have, but we cannot wait until we get perfect, because, if we wait until we get perfect, we would never be able to speak.
Let us follow up that just a little. It was promulgated as a matter which must be believed by all members of Jehovah's Witnesses that the Lord's second coming took place in 1874?
I am not familiar with that. You are speaking on the matter that I know nothing of.
That Watchtower lawyer is a typical Jehovah's Witness. In 1954, he was not aware that the Watchtower taught that Jesus' second presence began in 1874. I have a Jehovah's Witness friend who cannot come to grips with that reality, not even when I show him the evidence from their own publications. The trial continued. That was the publication of false prophecy?
That was the publication of a false prophecy. It was a false statement or an erroneous statement, in fulfillment of a prophecy that was false, or erroneous.
And that had to be believed by the whole of Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yes, because you must understand, we must have unity. We cannot have disunity with a lot of people going every way. An army is supposed to march in step.
A false prophecy was promulgated?
I agree that
It had to be accepted by Jehovah's Witnesses?
that is correct.
If a member of Jehovah's Witnesses took the view himself that that prophecy was wrong and said so, he would be disfellowshipped?
Yes.
And he went on to give the rationale. As if the abomination of forcing people to accept a false prophecy can be rationalized. Do you want to know what the rationale is? Unity at all costs. This is what Jehovah's Witnesses subscribe to as true religion. And unity based upon an enforced acceptance of false prophecy.
That is conceded to be true.
And the person who expressed his view, as you say, that it was wrong and was disfellowshipped would be in breach of the covenant if he was baptized?
That is correct.
And as you said yesterday, expressly would be worthy of death?
I think.
Would you say yes or no?
I will answer yes, unhesitatingly.
Do you call that religion?
It certainly is.
Do you call it Christianity?
I certainly do.
Jehovah's Witnesses, did you hear that? He was not alone. Then Vice President Fred Franz also faced similar questions. Like Covington, Franz admitted something you could hardly get a Jehovah's Witness to admit today. How many Jehovah's Witnesses would admit outside of court that they must accept any false teaching the organization presents to them? It is clear, in a court of law, where Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to evade questions at will, you can get watchtower officials to admit things they would never publish in their magazines. But outside of a courtroom, the typical Jehovah's Witness, in a feeble, futile attempt to defend the wrong of the organization, does damage to his own integrity and or looks quite silly in the process. I'll give you an example. Of course, I could give you several, but I will give you just one in the interest of time. This one is quite typical of the average conversation I have had with Jehovah's Witnesses. I must point out, however, in fairness, that this person is unlike the average Jehovah's Witness I have met when it comes to throwing insults. Mike and Kim produced a video where they pointed out that Jehovah's Witnesses are baptized, virtually pledging allegiance to the organization in contradiction to a stated position.
Go get the book, What Does the Bible Really Teach? Then go to page 182. Now we're going to read a paragraph, and we're going to focus on this one paragraph because we're going to expose an absolute lie. Paragraph 24. However, baptism is not a mere bath. It is a symbol of something very important. Remember, too, that you have made a dedication to Jehovah God himself, not to a work, a cause, other humans, or an organization. So when you're inculcating this information to your students, you're making them believe that they're dedicating themselves to God, that they belong to God.
It's a contract with God.
And not an organization.
Okay, so let's go back to the letter in paragraph 2. From the date of your baptism and you're joining the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Joining the organization. This is from a lawyer. Joining the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses.
That sounds like a complete
lie.
Opposite of what is said and what you teach your students.
Exactly.
Joining the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, you professed the Christian faith and agreed to adhere to the doctrine of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Even if that doctrine changes, you have to agree to it.
And agreed to submit to the rules and procedures of the ecclesiastical government of Jehovah's Witnesses.
This did not go down well with a current Jehovah's Witness who I happened to engage. This is an excerpt of the conversation. He started off with a bit of a lengthy response, saying some reasonable and unreasonable things. I started the conversation commenting on the unreasonable. Champion Pharaohs, I have a suspicion why Mike and Kim probably do not respond to you. You have said a lot of things that are questionable and a few things that are outright lies. I'll give you one outright lie you told. Quote, you are all telling people that disobeying the scriptures is okay, unquote. You dared to ask them to prove things. Can you provide one iota of evidence of Mike and Kim ever telling anyone that disobeying the scriptures is okay? I have a number of other questions for you, but let me see if I am right in one of my assumptions that you are not being responded to. I suspect that you yourself do not respond to questions, so please prove me wrong and answer that first question. Let's see if you will also answer other questions I have for you. Watchtower examination? Okay, fine with me. I'll give you a couple. The Bible clearly says at Hebrews 10:25, not forsaking the assembly of yourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching. In order to assemble ourselves, that would mean you'd have to be in a group now, doesn't it? They also say that Jehovah's Witnesses are deceiving people during baptism. Lie. The reason the organization stresses being true is because this organization is the only organization on earth who is totally living by the standard and instructions that are laid in the Bible for us. No one else does the preaching work, calls the Father by his name, stays separate from the world and politics, has no affiliation with pagan holidays and rituals, does not agree with the cross and any graven images, etc. Now, if I am wrong, prove it. Okay, thanks for responding. Your first comment is about not forsaking the assembly of yourselves together. You clearly share my view on that. That clearly indicates that going to an organized church is important. Can you provide me with evidence that Mike and Kim have told people not to go to church? That is the only way you can prove to me that they tell people not to follow the Bible in this instance. You have not done so. You clearly missed the point that Mike and Kim made about baptism. How did they claim that people are being deceived? The other comments you made are amazing, but I want to save those for last. Watchtower examination? They did. They made it look as if when you get baptized, you aren't baptizing yourself in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You are somehow pledging your allegiance to the org and putting more importance on the organization rather than on Jehovah and Jesus. Just cut the crap. Who do you think you're talking to? I've heard this smut all my life. They are throwing the organization under the bus yet again, just like all the other haters are doing, and don't have a leg to stand on. Case in point, all the backpedaling right now, just own it. They even have a big glowy sign behind them thrashing the organization. Are you serious? Don't play with me. Either be honest or just let them answer their own questions. I am currently working on a video in which I state that there needs to be a change in how we engage each other. May I ask you to calm down? Just cut the crap? Who do you think you're talking to? Calm down, please. I have no idea with whom I am speaking in answer to who do you think you're talking to. Mike and Kim did not say that when you get baptized, you don't get baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They are contrasting the reality as expressed in your publications. Your Bible Teach book made a firm statement that when you get baptized, you are not, as it were, pledging allegiance, my words, to an organization, but to God and God alone. Yet another publication made it abundantly clear that your baptism denotes loyalty to the organization. If that is not a contradiction, what is? Are you sure you understand what Mike and Kim are saying? Watchtower examination. So once again, cut the crap. You are implying that you are somehow dedicating yourself to the organization and putting more importance on the organization than on Jehovah and Jesus. Feeding into that brainwashed cult crap. Don't try to double talk. That doesn't work with someone with a brain. It's a respect that you have to the organization, just as you would anything else of importance in your life. This is everlasting life we are talking about, not only yours, but the people we preach to day in and day out. And the reason it is important to maintain certain decorum when you are a Jehovah's Witness is because when you are representing Jehovah, you represent him 100% correct. When you are doing the will of Jehovah, as stated in Matthew 7:27, you will do just as Jesus did. He worshipped his Father in spirit and in truth. John 4:24. So there is no room for hypocrites and part-time Christians. If you claim to be a Jehovah's Witness, either you are all in or go somewhere else. There is not one thing in the world wrong with having pride and respect associated with the members of your organization. We are Jehovah's Witnesses, and when you're a witness, you come correct. Period. Now what? Let me try another method. Questions. Champion Pharaohs, please answer the following two questions directly. 1. Can you present one iota of evidence that Mike and Kim told people not to go to an organized church? 2. When you get baptized, are you pledging loyalty to God alone or to God and an organization? Just focus on the questions and answer them. Please, I know you can. You have a brain. Evidently, you don't have a brain because I've answered that question 3 times. Next. Where is Kim or Mikey? Tell those liars to talk for themselves and stop sending half-wits to do their dirty work. And I have questions for them. They don't have questions for me. I heard their dishonest opinion about Jehovah's Witnesses. Now they're going to have to back them up. Watchtower examination. Oh, by the way, stupid, you said something about loyalty to the organization. Duh. Of course you have loyalty to the organization. Our organization represents Jehovah and Jesus. We have to 100% be on point at all times. Who in the heck wants a bunch of disloyal, fake, phony hypocrites in their circle? Are you retarded or something? What a stupid statement to make. If claim you are a witness for Jehovah, then that is a serious thing to be. This isn't game. If you want to be a hypocrite, then join whatever church or organization you all belong to. I'm sure there are a whole lot of Satan following disloyal hypocrites in your circle. Now what? Do you remember the first thing I said to you? I said I suspect why Mike and Kim may elect not to respond to you. It is becoming clear. You quote the Bible a few times. Do you believe in 1 Peter 3 verse 15? Quote, but sanctify the Christ as Lord in your hearts, always ready to make a defense before everyone who demands of you a reason for the hope you have, but doing so with a mild temper and deep respect. I am sure that Mike and Kim have their reasons for not responding to you, understandably so. Let me repeat, I understand why Mike and Kim are refusing to respond to you, but I have elected to have a conversation with you, and in a short time you have begun to throw insults. I will say it again. Please calm down. Galatians 5 verse 22, the fruitage of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith. Please pay attention to the word patience. Be patient. You claim that you have answered the question 3 times. In none of those 3 answers have I seen you providing any evidence that Mike and Kim have told people not to attend an organized religion. You also probably believe you answered the second question. I did not see your answer, so I ask you one more time to calmly, humbly, and patiently answer the question again. When you get baptized, are you pledging loyalty to God alone or to God and an organization? Champion Pharaohs, sorry, I just read your last comment, real loyalty to the organization. What should a Jehovah's Witness do if the Bible tells him one thing and the organization tells him another? Watchtower examination. You said, what should a Jehovah's Witness do if the Bible tells him one thing and the organization tells him another? And what would that be? I did not give an example, Champion Pharaohs. I asked a question. If. Well, let me give you an example. What if prior to July 2013, a Jehovah's Witness disagreed with the Watchtower teaching that the Great Tribulation began in 1914, but a Jehovah's Witness could find no evidence of that in the Bible? Should they accept what the Bible or God says, or what the Watchtower says? I'll give you another example, Champion Pharaohs. What if the organization taught that the war in heaven described at Revelation 12 was between the Pope and his bishops, and the Jehovah's Witness could not find support of that in the Bible, that the Bible taught that Michael and his angels fought against Satan? Who should the Jehovah's Witness believe? The organization or the Bible? Watchtower examination, all of that did happen. What's your point? There is nothing to disagree with, and all of that 100% is in the Bible. Champion Pharaohs, what do you mean by all of that did happen? Remember to be patient now. Are you saying that there were Jehovah's Witnesses who disagreed with the Watchtower that the Great Tribulation started in 1914? Are you saying that that is 100% supported by the Bible? Are you saying that there are Jehovah's Witnesses who disagreed with the organization that the war in heaven was between the Pope and his bishops? Are you saying that that is 100% supported by the Bible? Are you sure you understand the question I asked? I asked you, what should a Jehovah's Witness do if he read in the Bible that the war in heaven was between Michael and his angels and Satan, but the organization is telling him it was between the Pope and his bishops? Should he believe the Bible or the organization? Watchtower examination, what the heck are you talking about? Why do you give that as an example unless you thought it was wrong? Which you do, which shows you can't comprehend scripture. We don't choose the way of the world or man-made traditions and rules over the Bible. Go ask a Trini or someone wearing a cross while putting up Christmas decorations. That's not relevant to me and my organization. Now what? Watchtower examination, I told you to give me an example of something that is going on right now that falls in line with obeying the Bible or the org. When are you going to prove that Jehovah's Witnesses listen to the organization over the Bible? Because so far, you're all and none. Champion Pharaohs, you did not tell me to give you an example of something that is going on right now. Please scroll back up to your previous comments and you will discover that that is not true. What are we discussing? We are discussing loyalty to God versus loyalty to an organization. So I gave you two examples of real conflicts that Jehovah's Witnesses have had in the past and asked you, what should a Jehovah's Witness do when they have such a conflict? The Watchtower taught that the war in heaven was between the Pope and his bishops. Has the Bible ever taught that? Do you then see that there are instances where the organization is teaching what the Bible is not teaching? Again, you have not answered. Who should a Jehovah's Witness follow when this kind of conflict occurs? God or the organization? Watchtower examination next. You are getting on my nerves. You don't have a leg to stand on and you keep repeating the same stupid question over and over again. Just let Kim and Mikey talk for themselves because you have no Bible knowledge at all. It's painfully obvious. Champion Pharaohs, I am not speaking for Mike and Kim. They can speak for themselves. I told you earlier I elected to have a conversation with you. Do you love the truth or does it get on your nerves? It is not true, and I am sorry if it gets on your nerves. It is not true that you asked me to give you an example that is going on right now. So when I pointed out that you lied, it gets on your nerves. Well, I am sorry, but you lied. That is not my fault. About the stupid question, can you provide an answer? 1. When the Watchtower taught in the book The Finished Mystery that the war in heaven was between the Pope and his bishops, Jehovah's Witnesses believed the organization over the Bible. 2. When Jehovah's Witnesses in 1974 sold their homes and properties and were congratulated by the Watchtower, they believed the organization over the Bible because the Bible clearly states that no one knows when the world will end. Quote, reports are heard of brothers selling their homes and property and planning to finish out the rest of their days in this old system in the pioneer service. Certainly, this is a fine way to spend the short time remaining before the wicked world's end. This is from Our Kingdom Ministry, 1974. How are you using your life? Have you seen me now giving you evidence of Jehovah's Witnesses believing the organization over God? I am sorry if the evidence gets on your nerves. My aim is not to annoy you, but to get you to think. Okay, Larry. Now I know this is you, loser. You always repeat the same crap over and over again. Get a life. Oh, and tell the big mouth scaredy cats to put up or shut up. All talk, but can't back up a single solitary word of it, just like I said. And they really should be scared because they know I am going to stomp them in the ground when it comes to backing any of it up with scripture. And he laughs. I'll wait.
Mike and Kim subsequently responded. They said they did not see his comments initially.
And the conversation continued. I was not disappointed. I was hoping to have been. You see, I did not expect him to answer questions directly. Why? Because he is a Jehovah's Witness. That is what they do not do. A link for the video is placed below. Watch it. Read the conversation for yourself and you will see that up to May 26, 2015, the date that the script for this video was done, he had not yet answered the questions. He could not have answered and maintained his integrity, so he tried to change the subject with a silly accusation that I was someone else. Typical. Jehovah's Witnesses always try to change the subject, telling me things like they know that I am not comfortable where I am worshiping, so I want to join the watchtower, but pride is keeping me, and they laugh, just like Champion Pharaohs did, confidently believing the joke is on me. Jehovah's Witnesses, there is a reason this happens to you, why you end up looking silly, and it is simple. You are on the wrong side of the debate. You have the impossible task of trying to defend what cannot be defended. For example, there is no one on this planet, not one Jehovah's Witness alive, who can put up a credible defense to the nonsense that is the faithful and discreet slave doctrine that has come out of Watchtower publications since its inception to this day, given all the flip-flopping and the partial admission from the organization that the following statement is false.
When Christ inspected the slave in 1918, he found those anointed ones on earth to be faithful in providing spiritual food at the proper time. Hence, Jesus, the Master, was pleased thereafter to appoint them over all his belongings.
When the Watchtower tells you in the July 15, 2013 study edition of the Watchtower that
Jesus' arrival to appoint the faithful slave over all his belongings did not occur in 1919, but will take place during the Great Tribulation.
what credible response can you give when someone then asks you if the Watchtower was not teaching a false doctrine for the better part of a century? And when it is pointed out that the Watchtower now admits that the appointment over all the master's belongings is set for the future, and when the Bible makes it clear that it is at that time that the master and only the master will declare the slave faithful, what sensible response can you give for Jehovah's Witnesses and the governing body declaring that said body to be faithful? And can you, with any sense of honesty, deny that you are usurping the role of Christ in declaring your slave faithful? You see, Jehovah's Witnesses, feeble excuses like Proverbs 4:18 cannot help you except to make you look silly when you try to pass off past false teachings as truth that got brighter, when the truth is they are nothing but lies that eventually got admitted, or at best errors that have now been corrected. And how can you even mention Proverbs 4:18 that does not even say the light of truth gets brighter as you always claim, when in reality the Watchtower's so-called light of truth is progressively getting darker? What am I talking about? Do join me in the next video, where the topic is the path, not light, of Jehovah's Witnesses is getting darker. In the meantime, do take very good care of yourselves, and thanks for watching.